Marvel released the latest season of What If that had a bunch of really eclectic episodes. And most of these episodes, they weren't entertaining. I haven't read any of the What If comics. I'm not really a big fan of Marvel. I'm more of a DC guy. So I don't know if the comics also suffer from this optimistic approach to their stories. I like optimistic stories. I like stories that are bright and hopeful and happy. I like these stories and I appreciate these stories. Unfortunately, I can't survive on just optimistic stories, which is what the What If series is doing. Marvel's brand is happy, optimistic stories with snappy dialogues. If you're doing this for a whole season, I suppose I can understand. If you're doing it for another season, it's trying my patience, but I'll accept it. But if you're doing it for a third season, I'm not going to like it. What If Season 3 kind of broke me with all its optimism? Look, there were a few good episodes in this season. What if the Hulk fought the mech Avengers, for example? Had the Avengers sit in these giant mech suits battling strange kaiju monsters and then they decide to let the Hulk fight the same kaiju monsters? Clearly an episode inspired by Japanese stories. By the way, you don't say kaiju monsters. Kaiju means strange creature or monster. So saying kaiju monster is like saying chai tea or fried samosa or Sahara desert, naan bread, Mississippi River. You get the point. So the episode has many problems, sure. But it's a fun episode. It does some fun things and it looks like a lot of fun. You also have What If the Red Guardian stopped the Winter Soldier, in which the Red Guardian goes AOL, teams up with the Winter Soldier, stops him from assassinating Howard Stark, and then fights a bunch of Red Room task force guys. This was a fun episode that was really light on actual story, but high on character moments. The episode didn't feel like it had much meat on its bones, and yet it managed to be a lot of fun. We also had What If 1872 this season, in which Kate Bishop and Iron Fist fight the Hood. The Hood, if you didn't already know, is an interesting Avengers villain from the comics, or at least I've read him only in the Avengers comics. This episode has some fun twists, sure, but ultimately was somewhat average at best. And you have these two characters, right? Hawkeye and Shang-Chi. And you get to know nothing about these characters. They are essentially reimaginings, so you need to have some character moments in the story, which was completely missing from this episode. And we have episodes that were really below average. What If Agatha Went to Hollywood was a boring episode, really boring, in which Agatha gets unlimited powers to do whatever she wants, and she does whatever she wants, which is when Kingo jumps in and convinces her not to use these powers for evil, and she agrees. This is a stupid story, really. It maybe could have played out much better, but it wasn't. I like both Kumail Nanjiani and Catherine Hahn. They're brilliant actors and they're both great as Kingo and Agatha, but here they're not. This episode was not entertaining at all. It was dull, it was boring, it was no fun. The dance numbers they stuck in this episode, that Desi dance number, it was terrible. There's so many great dance sequences in so many Bollywood films and they just stuck in something generic and called it a day. Disappointing. What If the Emergence Destroyed the Earth was another really boring episode in which Ironheart faces an adversary that she just cannot overcome. The story is resolved when an external agent steps in and fixes things for Ironheart. The Watcher, the external agent who's been watching the whole thing, steps in and fixes things for Ironheart. Look, this is basic storytelling, alright? Don't use some sort of Deus Ex Machina to fix your stories. Also, I don't really care enough about Ironheart, so watching an entire episode built around her was uninteresting. We had What If Howard the Duck Got Hitched this season, which has an interesting premise. It introduces us to infant Birdie and shows us how her parents, who are Howard the Duck and Darcy, run away from these people who are trying to get their hands on Birdie for their own purpose. And I suppose it's a decent episode that sets up the character of Birdie, who will save the Marvel Universe in the future. So they set up our expectation, and a few episodes later, we do get to see Birdie all grown up. But does she really save the Marvel Universe? In What If the Watcher Disappeared and What If, the last two episodes of the series, she fixes a ship and punches a few bad guys, and that's about the extent of her contribution to the story. So no, they set her up as a messiah of sorts and then went and did something that didn't require her to be a messiah at all, which is freaking annoying. Speaking of these last two episodes, the ones that feature Peggy Carter, Birdie, Kahori, Storm, and some random watcher dude who'd been narrating stories to us, those episodes are a task to get through, really. And the last 20 seconds of the show, they give us a glimpse of what could have been. We see a 6-armed Spider-Man, Samurai Ghost Rider, a female Punisher, a Samurai Moon Knight, Thanos with Wolverine's claws, Kingo Iron Man, Miss Marvel in the Ant-Man suit, a Hulk Sorcerer Supreme, a cross between Howard the Duck and Scarlet Witch, Jubilee, who's also the Silver Surfer, a Skrull Captain America. There was just so much potential here, so much they could have done with the series, but chose not to. They gave us this tired garbage instead. Tired garbage. I don't know why I'm calling it that. I'm not entirely sure, but maybe the season would have been better if they gave us episodes that weren't interconnected. Episodes that didn't impact one another, like the Bucky episode, or the Mech Avengers episode, or Hawkeye Shang-Chi episode. Look, I didn't hate those episodes, and if we had more of those, maybe I wouldn't have hated this season as much. I've seen so many shows that have lasted 7, 8, 9 seasons, and they've been tons of fun. It wasn't really that hard putting together a season that actually did some good to the franchise. This season sucked, and now even the episodes I've liked, I'm beginning to dislike them. Yet I'm kind of sad to see What If go. Not this last season, but the first 2 seasons. It sucks to realize that we won't be getting any more of this show, that it won't be able to redeem itself, that we're going to have to say goodbye. On the bright side, something more entertaining is coming up. Marvel Zombies. I love zombies, and admitted, the Marvel Zombies comic I read wasn't terribly good, but I liked the Zombies episode from What If Season 1. I think the series has potential, so I'll wait for that show. I'm going to go now. Like, share, comment, subscribe to the Gutter Space channel. I'll see you next time.